To go. Hey folks, so we are live. It is the Wednesday live stream and it's Emilia. And for those of you who jumped on already, I'm happy to have you. And what I'm doing is looking over here to my other screen to make sure that this is popping on. If you can hear me and see us, please make sure to let us know because the sound, I just want to make sure because I've done the streaming part and then just had like static because my mic was all funny and I didn't have any idea and I was super nervous.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty normal. Again, anybody that streams is always, I wonder if anybody can hear me.
Well, let's see who we have in the chat this morning. I see Pete. Pete is back. I will just call out Pete for a minute. Pete is one of my moderators and I'm thankful to have him, but Pete didn't realize I had set up another channel. And so now I'm glad to have Pete over here. And it turns out, I guess my messaging was not quite good enough, even for folks that attend the streams regularly. So I apologize, Pete. That is my fault. I also see Margaret in the chat for the first time. And I cannot help but shout out Margaret because in the MEGA spreadsheet, the Make the Internet Great Again project spreadsheet, I don't know Margaret, right? I've never spoken with her. And she's like one of the ladies in there totally crushing it. Everybody else is like, oh, I'm struggling. And she's like, article posted. I'm going to start this. Like she's just hammering it out. So just wanted to say, Margaret, welcome. I would love to know more about you and what it is that you're working on. So it would be great to have you as part of this community if you feel like letting us know. I see Tortoise Cashflow. That's Anthony. I also have seen, let's see. Oh, Niche Safari Chris. We've got a celebrity in the house. Thanks for dropping in. There is Adrian also. Pete says, no one told me. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. I did want to shout out Chris. I think Chris put out a great interview this week. He actually went and jumped in on the interview stuff, which I think is great. And he pulled down a really neat interview with an attorney to talk about some like housekeeping stuff that a lot of us basically ignore. And so I just really wanted to shout out Chris for going and doing that. I probably should have done it, but let's just face it. I don't want to be like the internet lawyer at all. Like I don't want to brand myself as that at all. And so I just wanted to thank Chris for going and making content that some of us should consume. It's like, McDonald's, right? Like we all would rather eat the French fries, but we all need lettuce. So Chris just served us up a bunch of lettuce. So go eat the lettuce. Everybody go to Chris's channel and check it out.
I'm sure lawyers love that analogy with lettuce.
Why does this lettuce cost $450 an hour?
Right. Yeah.
Well, you folks, if you are here, and obviously you can see Beau of Waves and Websites is here with me. And of course, like he always is, Beau is outside making the rest of us look bad. I'm staring at ice. And he's out there in his Aloha shirt, like watching the sunrise. Please, Beau, feel free to introduce yourself. Let us, for folks who don't know who you are, just introduce yourself and then we will have our chat.
Sure. Yeah. Aloha, everybody. Good to see a lot of familiar faces here. I'm Beau. If you don't know who I am, I have my own very small but growing YouTube channel. It's at Waves and Websites. Talk about niche websites, a lot of similar things to what Emilia and a lot of the folks on the channel are interested in. I have my own portfolio of niche websites. I work a day job as well. I work as an appraiser, a real estate appraiser for the local government here. I'm actually going to hop into my job here right after the interview, unfortunately. But yeah, just stoked to be here. Aloha from Oahu, Hawaii, and ask me anything you want.
Absolutely. You can throw him all the questions. I was planning on asking him about the progress of his site that he bought with Motion Invest and then your 1 million words in 2021. This is your challenge. Before we go down that road, though, I want to shout out Anthony. Tortoise Cashflow said that he sold a $3,000 product and made $70 commission. So that's a huge win. But I'm like, oh my God, that is such a ridiculously low commission. If you're going to sell something that's $3,000, I mean, let's look at something that gives you like a 10+% commission. I guess that goes back to product selection and affiliate programs because that's a huge amount of money that you just made for that company by sending them a customer and then to only get $70. That's the physical product side of affiliate marketing. Holy cow.
0.25%. Yes.
That's that. I mean, it's like, man, if you do all that work, then, but still, that's huge. And so This
Good job,
is
man. Good job.
there's Jesse. What's going on? So, Beau, you bought a site Promotion Invest, and we have talked about this a few times when we talked about it in our last interview. But one of the things I've seen in your videos is you said that with the Christmas updates and the rest, that site has actually just seen a lot more traffic. Like it's almost like you got a windfall. You bought the site, and then it's way more valuable than it was at the time you bought it. What's going on?
Sure. So I actually have two interesting two case studies. So I bought two Motion Invest sites. I bought one back in August, and then I bought John Dykstra's site at the end of November. The site that I bought in August went, and the John Dykstra site went, crazy. It was like as opposite it could be. One site completely died, and the John Dykstra site has now basically tripled in traffic. So, got pretty lucky with that, to tell you the truth.
Is there anything that you can identify as far as the site that is going up? You say, okay, this is the reason. I mean, did he have a bunch of content that hadn't ranked or that is now ranking that wasn't?
Yeah, that was it. So he had, I think he had gotten a bunch of content written and posted like in that 3 to 9 month period that just when the December update came along, a lot of that. I have like 5 or 6 pages now to get over 100 hits a day that before we're not getting much, and were written like 6-9 months ago. So yeah.
There's some folks in our community who live and die by SERP, like SERP Robot, the keyword trackers, like where you are. Do you use any of that stuff on the sites, and can you identify what actually is doing better versus not?
No. I don't. I should, but I don't.
I'm the same. I just have not been able to get on board with paying a bunch of money to watch my keywords go up and down. And I know that it's important, but it's just like I have to pay. How many keywords could I actually want to track?
Yeah, and there's so many things you can obsess over already. Like I find myself checking my Amazon Associates and my Google Analytics like once every 30 minutes. It's already a terrible habit. If I add keyword rankings into the mix, I'm just gonna lose my freaking mind. So I'm just like, just post the content, see what happens.
So one of the things that you see this contrast for folks who are very, very analytical. They have to know the progress of every single thing. They've got a Trello board, and they have, every single piece of content that they're planning on writing for the next year, like mapped out, and they're on track, on task. And then there are folks that are probably more like me, which is like, just write it and post it and then move on. I mean, would you put yourself in that camp then of just like, I'm going to write it and then forget it?
For sure. And I have my like hyper analytical moments where this is kind of like a product of being super ADD, where you have like, it's called like hyper focus. I'm sure you're familiar, where I tend to overanalyze something for like an hour or a day, and then I'll just totally forget about it, move on to the next thing. So yeah, I found that what works best for me is kind of having those spits and spurts, and then just moving on and posting as much content as I can. And I have a lot of spreadsheets here and there that are dead, so it's just, I don't know.
I bet, and I will ask the folks in the chat, but I think this is something that most of us can relate to, is these spreadsheets. Like I have about between 70 and 100, it feels like, spreadsheets that have keyword research, like thousands of keywords that I've never written on, and thousands of ideas that I have never done with. And all these spreadsheets are like in the closet somewhere gathering dust. Who in the chat can relate? Like you could even just put like a thumbs up. You're like, me. Like, I have spreadsheets. I have a problem. So then what are you going to do though with this 1,000,000-word challenge? If organization comes in fits and starts, how do you organize yourself to get 1,000,000 words up on your sites in 1 year?
Yeah. So luckily I have a wife who's kind of a spreadsheet geek. She really helped me with my spreadsheet, and I have it kind of, I find that for myself, I need to put things in multiple places for them to really stick. So I have a whiteboard where I write out every day. And my wife, kind of at a glance, she doesn't like to be like a mom and check in on me, but it's good to have her look at it occasionally. So there's that. And then I have the spreadsheet, which I update every day with the word count, the article count, the posts, who's writing them. It's a pretty big, like 25 column spreadsheet with,
all of the things.
Yeah.
So are you writing any of the content yourself right now?
No, I'm the last couple of days I've had to edit some of the content pretty heavily. I made the mistake of ordering some content on Fiverr, and it was really bad. So I've had to just pretty much rewrite that. For the most part, I'm just doing some light editing. Yeah.
So as far as your posts then, do you have a formula that you're giving to your writers? Like you say, I like this kind of structure, or are you going to give them a lot of instructions for the title and then for each of the headers, or is that part of your light editing when you get it back?
Yeah, so I do. I give them a very specific like a Google Doc where I say put this here, put that there. I like the for example, like recently I just outsourced a bunch of like income school response posts. So that's very formulaic, where the first paragraph has the keyword, it has a question, the second paragraph is bolded with the answer, and then I usually do like a screen share video where I'll just kind of talk through the template, and I find that the writers do really well with just that kind of those two things. So the screen share and the Google Doc.
So I'm not a member of the income school community. I haven't been through their course, but I know that it's part of their like their teaching to get the snippet is to bold a section of the paragraph that potentially answers the question. Do you think that that's valuable? Does that work? Do you know?
The verdict is still out in my own case. I mean, I just started doing this, but it seems to be working with their members. I mean, I know, but yeah, I can't really say. I've gotten a lot of snippets just because I tend to do a lot of question-based posts. So if you're doing those kind of posts and you're formatting them okay, you should grab some snippets. But I try to answer like 2 or 3 questions in a post, and tends to do kind of well just by answering those questions. Like if you do a keyword, if you do an article on best ballpoint pen, like Doug Kennington always talks about, you want to do a Google search for that, look at the questions that are in the bottom, then have 2 or 3 or 4 of those questions that are Google suggested, like ancillary topics, and have those in your posts.
When you're doing your keyword research, where are you going to figure out what keyword you're going to write about?
Sure. Well, I'm kind of in that I guess John Dykstra vein where I just try to write about everything that I can. So I use Keyword Shitter and what is that? Keywords Everywhere. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my really simple two things that I use. Keyword Shitter, you just put in like ballpoint pen, and then it'll come out with. And I started to use recently answer the public, and there's a really good one that one of my YouTube guys posted or commented on my channel, and then he promptly deleted it, I think, because he didn't want to share it. But there's an alternative to Answer the Public called Answer Socrates.
I thought, was it Ask like Socrates? Like, was it
Answer
Socrates? Was that what it was?
Yeah, Answer Socrates, and it's basically a free version of Answer the Public.
Oh yeah, answersocrates.com. I couldn't find this. I was looking for it not too long ago, and the reason I couldn't find it is because I was looking for Ask Socrates, and it was I couldn't figure it out because I was getting the wrong. It was like some stock trading site. I was like, I am so confused. Like, did they remove this? And it was because I had the wrong one. So Answer Socrates says,
yeah,
it almost looks like they have gone out of their way to copy it directly. Like, you have answers, we have questions. Isn't that the same messaging that they have on Answer the Public?
Yeah. But lucky for us, again, it is just a kind of a free version of Answer the Public. Who knows how long it'll be free, but
yeah,
it comes up with all the same suggested topics and stuff. So it's a good tool.
So when you make decisions about which which keyword to write about. Do you do any additional research once you have, you say, oh, like I can tell right away that's something, it's a question I could answer. Do you do more research to make sure that it's the right keyword? You're like, you know what, I'm just going to try to blast out as much content out there and then just play the lottery and hope that some of it pans out.
I do, not as like a, not as like a, what is it? I do. It just depends. Depends on how I feel that day. But I'll do like, just I'll go through my keyword list and do a quick search and just see how competitive it is just in the search. And if it's like, CNBC and MSNBC and all the top results are huge sites, then yeah, maybe I might scrap that one. But yeah, I know. But yeah, it just depends on my mood that day. I might just outsource them all. Actually, I did this for the first time yesterday, which is like, oh, okay, my site's. I was kind of happy about it, but kind of pissed too. I was like, I outsourced an article that was already on the site. I was like, shit, my site's getting pretty big, but I gotta be more. Yeah.
I think that happens too when you have more than one site. Because when I have just one site I'm working on, I'm really familiar with what is on there. But when it goes beyond that and you get to the point where it's been years since you actually worked any of that content, you're like, did I write that or was I thinking about writing about that? Did I start writing that and it never went anywhere? And that is hilarious.
Yeah. I guess I have a good excuse because it wasn't, it was one of the sites that I had purchased, but still it's.
So I'm looking in the chat and somebody, it looks like Pete and Jesse had mentioned something about so I don't know if you follow the Just Start Reddit like area, but there's Sean Mars is there. And I know there are other folks who catch this live stream who do lurk in the Just Start forum place. And one of the folks who I think is participating, well, he may or may not be in the MEGA thing. People don't use their real names, but he is doing a 1,000 articles case study. And so his goal is just to blast out 1,000 articles as quickly as possible. And he is starting from scratch and just outsourcing, I think all of it or as much as possible. And I think there was a time because I was really into John Dykstra at one point, like 2 years ago, that I would have been like, yeah, like that's great. Like that is the recipe for success is just start something and then throw as much content on there as possible because that's how John Dykstra does it. But fast forward 2 years and I'm like, ugh, like from the beginning, like day one, throwing 1,000 articles on a website. Like, I don't know, like I don't know that I would do that. What do you think? Would you take a new site if you just had 15 grand sitting around? You're like, I'm going to put 15 grand on day one on a new site and just let it roll. Or would you approach this in a different way?
Well, yes and no. I mean, just kind of I mean, my million word thing is pretty similar, but I think it's just spaced out, right? Like 1 million words is roughly 1,000 articles, right? 1,000 times 1,000, right? So, yeah, I guess I'm doing that too.
But are you doing it on a site that's brand new, or are you putting it on sites that are proven and are already earning?
Yeah, so it's a mix of both. I actually just the other day, so I got offered about $2,000 for a domain that I've had for a long time, and decided that I'm going to build that domain out. But yeah, so it's a mix, but it's not going to be 1,000 pieces of content. I might put say 50 on that one over the course of the year. The rest will be on the established site. So, but yeah, I'm kind of more. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not savvy enough in SEO to know, like, is it a good thing to just blast 1,000 word or 1,000 articles on one site? I think it's more beneficial to space it out, whether that's five a day or 2 a day or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to put them like all on one day. I think he's going to be, dripping them as soon as he can get them. But I think the goal is to post, all of these posts on a site that isn't proven yet. And I think that's for me is like the challenging part to say, okay, this is a site, a niche. I say, I have this confidence that I could rank a site in any niche. And I think I've proven to myself that that's not the case, that that it's not possible every single time. And whether or not it would be prudent to slow down because we're in a long game, right? Like this is a long game for us. it's not just like, oh, if this doesn't work, I'm going to quit. Like, I'm still going to be here next year doing this.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if I don't, I mean, I'm not sure how new that person is, if they're already doing this, but I think the really interesting case study to do would be to kind of side by side it. Take a new site, put 500 on that, maybe spend like $2,000 or $3,000 on an established site, from like Motion Invest, for example, or Flippa or something, and then put 500 pieces of content on that established site and kind of see how they perform side by side.
The hard part about that, though, is like it's so niche specific. I mean, it's really hard to have an objective test because, any of the things like Christmas, and you've got a Christmas tree topper site, and of course it's going to do better or worse versus
yeah, there's so many variables. It's hard to that's true. Yeah.
Well, before we go further, I wanted to take a second and then recognize some of the folks who are in the MEGA, the Make the Internet Great Again group. And Beau, you are in there and have been updating. And I wanted to throw a couple of gold stars out there for a few folks, specifically Paul Harrison, who has really impressed me by jumping in. And then he's making daily videos documenting his progress, which I think is awesome. And I think it's going to be really cool to be able to look back, and it's and I don't know, he's not here today because this is tea time in the UK, but what I suspect is that it is creating additional support for him and also motivation to keep going, because the same people who check on his videos, like they check in regularly. And so he knows like, oh, if I don't make a video, people are going to notice. Like if he didn't make a video tonight, I'd be like, is there something wrong? Like what happened to you? I also wanted to shout out Adrian. Last week, Adrian was struggling on which domain to buy and to where, because he was looking for an age domain, and he confirmed that he actually did that and got to work on that. So Adrian, like virtual high five, like Jay Paul for being
right? Well.
Yeah. Jay Paul for being consistent, Hamal for getting 51 articles published so far this month. Anthony, our Tortoise Cash Flow regular, for also being consistent and getting stuff done. Margaret, who is here, who's again really getting in there. And I also wanted to just highlight someone. I don't want to call out their name because it's not like a shaming thing, but there's definitely at least one individual in the group who's kind of stuck in analysis paralysis, like just this continual time spent trying to do the research. Like, is this the right thing? Is this the right thing? And for this individual, I just want to reach out to you and say, part of the reason that you feel this paralysis, like you can't figure out what to do, is because you have to do to get the experience to know whether or not it's a good idea. And so at some point, you just have to jump. And it might not be right. It might not be perfect. But the next time, my friend, you will know what to do. You will have all the answers to these questions. Beau, have you ever gotten stuck in the analysis paralysis mode, and what did you do to get out of it?
Yeah, that was kind of my MO actually for most of my life. It's just been the last couple of years where I've gotten over that, where kind of just, you just kind of say screw it, and say, well, all this stuff doesn't really matter. I just need to publish something.
I mean, at some point,
yeah.
I mean, you just have to pick something. Like maybe it's not the perfect niche, maybe it's not the perfect domain name, but it's the first time I did this, and when I was serious, because I've done this like 5 times in my life before I got serious about it, I felt a lot of stress. Like, okay, is this the thing? Like, am I wasting my $8.99 over at Namecheap? And I don't feel that anymore. If I feel stress, it's about much different things. I don't feel stress about, okay, is this the right niche? Is this the right domain? I don't feel any of that stuff because I have taken those first steps.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is. It's definitely it's less stressful to produce. It's more when you're doing this. It's very stressful, and then it becomes it's like a cycle, right? You're like, well, I didn't produce anything. That's stressful. And thinking about it, it just compounds. So just think of it as stress relief.
That's right. We've got folks in the chat who are asking about Ask Socrates.
Socrates.
AnswerSocrates.com.
Yeah.
AnswerSocrates.com.
I always think of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Socrates. I can never remember Socrates. I don't. Anyway, yeah, Socrates.
Well, what's funny about that is there are probably folks in the chat who have no idea who Bill and Ted are.
Oh. Well, they just came out with the fourth movie. I don't know.
I know, right? But that they were not born when Bill and Ted first graced us with their excellent adventure, which is frightening. But anyway, for me personally, this is my accountability moment for the Amiga group. I had set a much more manageable word count type goal, because in the past, I think per month for these types of challenge, I had selected like 100,000 words and I was going to write it myself. And this time I selected 30,000 words and I'm already 2/3 of the way done. I've just really been trying to pace myself, because what I discovered I did last year was I was so obsessed with getting words posted that I probably wrote on keywords I shouldn't have, just to like check the box and to say, I did it. And then the content in a lot of cases probably wasn't that good. And so I did a ton of work last year, but it was basically spinning my wheels, because I just, wanted to I must post thousands of words, because that seemed to be the key, which was post words, publish as much as possible, but without really thinking too much about the quality of the product, or what should I write on those keywords. And so I ended up with a site that has a lot of content on it that doesn't do anything at all.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you?
Yeah. I guess it's kind of you have to have directed. It's got to be somewhat directed, right? Somewhat focused. I mean, I can definitely relate. But
he's like, but not exactly, and you're on your own there.
Well, no, I was just trying not to. So when I first started, this is a good story on that point. So when I first started my main site, I reached out to a bunch of people who weren't necessarily writers, kind of in my group, and I just started to kind of really learn about keyword research. And the hodgepodge of topics that I had people write on was, I had one guy say he was not very nice about it too. It's these are the most random, ridiculous. Anyway, so I can relate.
Adrian's noticed that the alsoasked.com, people also asked thingy, there's a service that is also moving to paid. So people who are relying upon that as a free place to get keyword ideas is moving to paid. I don't use it, so I didn't know about it, but I'm sure other folks in the group do.
One thing I want to, I don't want to forget about this before we move on, was when you were doing the shout outs to all the people in the Amiga group. Thank you, by the way, for putting that together. That's amazingly helpful, and it's good to kind of have that sense of community and accountability. What I found that's really helped me just in the past 6 months, 12 months, and this is kind of the catalyst for my own YouTube channel, was similar to what the first guy, I think Joseph maybe was his name.
Paul?
Paul, there you go, Paul. I'm thinking of, I watched the inauguration this morning, so I got Joe Biden in my head, but Paul. So setting up these kind of levers of accountability, where you have groups or people that, even if you don't really know them, it's a really good thing, just kind of have that accountability, and then set up multiple points of accountability. So for myself, I have my wife, I have you guys, I have the Amiga group, I have the YouTube channel, right? So there's at least 3 points of accountability that I've set up for myself, which kind of makes it really hard for me to be too ADD and just not do anything, right? So, but thank you for the group. It's awesome. It's very helpful.
Well, there's a secret that I'll share with you, and it was not altruistic in any way. It was, like you said, it's a lever of accountability for myself. For myself, because in the second half of 2020, I was punching out a lot of content for YouTube and the podcast, but I was not writing. like almost at all. And it was so incredibly difficult to get to the computer and say, okay, I'm going to write content. And so this is entirely selfish, like completely selfish. So everybody who is participating in this is actually helping me. But, you know, that's a really interesting segue to one of the things that was on my list to talk about, was these points of accountability and setting those up either with maybe even with strangers, right? Of like setting up these, you know, weekly meetups or, you know, digital Zoom free mastermind groups. A couple weeks ago, I had just mentioned casually in one of these live streams, I said, hey, I'm looking to set up another like informal, I don't want to call it mastermind because they're mastermind. I think I hate that topic, like hate that word is describing what it is, which is a couple of people getting together to meet regularly to talk shop and to support each other. And I participating in one of these right now, which we meet weekly. And for some folks that may be too much, but it's been really helpful for me just to talk with other people. And sometimes we talk about our sites or our progress. And sometimes we just vent on like what happened this week in work. And so I said, hey, I'm interested in setting up another of these for folks who don't know other folks, who want to be introduced to other people who want to start down this road of meeting regularly. And I only had one person who was like, yeah, that sounds really interesting. And I honestly thought, I wasn't offering to do it for money or anything else. Just like, man, is there anybody else out there who could use that? And maybe it's people don't, because they haven't done it, they don't realize how powerful it is, but it's so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think for me it was just scheduling. I think it was the timing of it, right? It was, but even the Discord, like, you know, that can go off on some tangents. But it's a good point of commiseration and camaraderie, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're lucky you have your wife who understands, right? And then you do have your YouTube channel. But for a lot of folks out there, they don't have those things, right? They're literally in their own bubble.
Yeah.
Period. Like, and it's different to sit and just consume content on YouTube, right? Like passively sit on a live stream and then maybe type in some chatter and actually talking to people, like expressing yourself and having that connection with other people who understand it. Is if I could say anything that is improve the likelihood of me succeeding in this whole make money online business, it is actually talking to other people, like using my mouth, like speaking to them, versus like just this really passive or, you know, shielded wall of people knowing what I do and don't do.
Yeah.
It's made a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's like, yes. What else?
It's well, I mean, I think that's why the coaching industry is so big. You know, like actually about a year when I was between jobs, I worked as a. Have you seen these kind of ads for like high ticket sales coaching?
Sure.
So I did that for a few months for kind of a guru where people would call and basically you know, people are always kind of looking for that contact. Sometimes it's misdirected, but yeah, no, it's valuable and yeah.
So you were a high ticket closer?
No.
Well, no, I mean, is that something? Did you like, because the person? So there's it's like they're the gurus, but they're also legitimate people who I don't think of it as a negative thing. Like they have a sales team though, who people call in and then they have somebody close for them.
Yeah. So yeah, it was more kind of it was unique. It was unique in that it was more kind of coaching than closing. But yeah, it was a sales thing. I mean, you're coaching people to a sale.
I don't know. I personally, like, I don't, you could see that you're like kind of reticent to go down that road and to think of it positively. But I think there's a lot to be learned from those types of experiences, especially when you're doing YouTube and you're blogging. I mean, most of us are trying to earn money.
Yeah.
In some way here online. And so I don't think people should really feel ashamed for like, oh, well, I'm trying to earn money to change my life.
It's I don't really want to go off on like a crazy tangent, but it's a really compelling business model.
Mhm.
It's the whole like funnels. You ever go down the ClickFunnels rabbit hole?
Oh, that's where I started. That is why I am here today. That is why I started the YouTube channel, is because I went down the ClickFunnels rabbit hole.
Yeah. So the coaching funnel that some of these guys have figured out is insane. Like the guy I work for made, I think, somewhere along the lines of about $100,000 a day.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that was a good day. Bad days were like 30,000. You know, because you figure each one of these sales, like a $2,000 sale, he had like 10 salespeople doing, 10 calls a day. Um, yeah.
What did you think of the product?
Um, it's like anything. It was good if people use it, and
Mhm.
that's another kind of a really interesting behind the scenes thing that if people that do courses and that kind of thing is people will buy a $2,000 course and then not even log into the product, and then not ask for a refund. Which just when first couple people that did that, it was just like, okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you think those people are looking for then? If they're not looking for the information, then what is it that is driving them to get out their credit card?
I think it's just that kind of that quick fix mentality, right? Where I want something, but and this looks like it's could be a quick fix where I don't have to work that hard for it. Um, yeah, and it's hard to convey to people that yes, you have to not only use the course but put in the work to have it work for you. But
So then what is the takeaway that we as bloggers and YouTubers, podcasters, what can we take away from this, right? Because if I'm on my affiliate site and I can get somebody to click on the link to go and buy, the table saw, I mean,
right,
I don't care if they use it when it arrives at their house, but what can we take away from that as we are writing content or editing content to encourage someone to click on the link? Because just like sales, right? If your affiliate post is full of like links, like thousands of links, and it's obviously you trying to sell them a $2,000 product, then they're going to bounce,
yeah.
or they're not going to bother clicking. They're like, you're trying to sell me something. So what can we take from that to apply to our blog posts?
That's a good point. So I think so. For example, like I've shared some of my numbers on like my buyer's guides, where my buyer's guides convert really well. Like I usually get like more clicks to Amazon from the buyer's guides than I get to the buyer's guides themselves. Um, and yeah, so it's one of those things where I think, and I just do this kind of by default, just because of I have a background in sales, and then I studied a lot of like NLP, kind of hypnotic marketing and this kind of thing. So I think it's just you know if you really want to be a diligent student in like niche websites, affiliate marketing, I would encourage you to study some just like sales stuff, because you can incorporate that into your language. It's simple stuff like putting people in the picture, selling uh, instead of selling features, sell benefits, what it'll do for you. This table saw. Imagine this table saw in your hand. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a horrible example, but you know what I'm getting at, right? So, yeah.
Well, here's what you could make with a table saw, rather than focusing on the fact that the table saw comes with 10 blades and the automatic siphoning sawdust feature. It's like putting the pictures in
Yeah.
of what you could make with it. Maybe your garden boxes and your shed and your arbors and
Yeah.
things.
And just to give like a concrete example, you see people when they're doing their buyer's guides or their review posts, they just do these like endless lists of bullet points of like,
Mhm.
7.6 pounds and 2.3 inches of cutting power or whatever. It's
That's
So
right. Yep.
avoid that. Yeah.
Instead focusing on what it is, the benefit. So it will make your wood cutting process much easier,
Yeah.
safer, because it's got this super awesome guard.
Mm.
You know, somebody who doesn't know what they're doing could learn how to build a house in much quicker time versus having to do all the work of doing it with a jigsaw, for example.
Mm. Yeah.
24K Will asks, what is your favorite thing about living in Hawaii?
Well, I mean, the fact that there's kind of like palm trees everywhere you go. Um, I don't know. It's hard to be depressed here. You know, I honestly just being real, I've struggled with depression a lot in my life, and you know, physical surroundings really help that. The ability to just go to the ocean whenever you want. Um, yeah, just the fact that being outside, it's a good thing. It's beautiful here. It's kind of, you get stir crazy. Like I do usually pre-pandemic go somewhere every 6 months or so. I love to travel, but yeah, just yeah, nature, you know, Hawaii, stereotypical Hawaii.
Rick says that he lost 50 pounds once, or maybe either he's joking or he did actually lose 50 pounds when he bought the table saw, but I don't know if that's because he was using it more or he cut off one of his legs. 50 pounds, just like,
I think Rick might have been the person that suggested answer so great. Well, that did. Yeah.
Jesse wants to know, what is the worst thing about living in Hawaii?
It is just kind of, it can be isolating. Again, you can get kind of stir crazy. We don't have really any extended family here. It's just me, my wife, and our two boys. So there's that, and it's expensive. Yeah, it is. It's you got to do these kind of side hustles to get by. You know, a lot of people will work a full-time job and then do Uber and work at McDonald's. You know, it's like, yeah, just like the average cost of living here is just insane. To buy a house, we're trying to buy a house now, and it's like it's hard not to be priced out. The average house in Hawaii is about $900,000 now. So it's yeah, affordability and just isolation.
When you talk about isolation, I spent some time in Hawaii in the before time, like way, way, way back. And I remember when I moved there and there were a lot of people who were really excited and they're like, oh, I can't wait to come visit you. And you know how many people came? The whole time I was there was literally 2. And they everybody came at the same time. So I had like all this time of being just me. And then there was a week when everybody came at the same time. And then my parents never came. My close family never came, you know, and they were like, yeah, we're definitely coming. It'll be a great excuse to go and visit. But
Yeah.
Nobody came to visit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for us, it was like our wedding. We had a ton of family come, but a lot of family didn't come. It's just because it's such a long haul. It's expensive. You know, you're plopping down at least $5,000 to come here. Really,
Mhm.
being realistic, if you're bringing your family and staying in a decent place, it's not cheap, and it's far. You know, if you live in Florida, it takes you 20 hours to get here. You know, and like planes or traveling. Yeah.
I wanted to give a shout out to Bassi. Says first time hopping on the live stream. Bassi, I have noticed that you are in the MEGA group, and I was wondering if while you were here, you could give us a heads up to what is your challenge, because I see that you signed up at the end of week 1, and I see maybe 1 or 2 really productive days, and so I'm wondering, like, what's holding you back, man? Like, what is keeping you from going on and getting to the computer every day? Because I'm not going to say that it's a bad thing to not get to the computer every day, because I don't. Like, I try really hard and life happens and all of that, but every person's going to have to figure out, you know, what is the hurdle, and then how are you going to overcome that? You know, how are you going to change from being the guy who's like lurking on the outside, watching everybody else get in there and watching everybody else do it? It's like, how do you get to the other side? For some folks, it's just saying, okay, you know, start. And so for somebody who has started, you know, what gets you back to the computer? Like, what gets you to the computer? We've talked a little bit about it. You want to buy a house, you want to earn more money for your family, you want to travel. Like, is that your why?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's family. It's freedom. It's yeah. I mean, we've been, just I don't want to say we haven't been rich. I'll just say that we haven't. Um, yeah, it's been a struggle, and yeah, it's I see the scalability and the path. And it's just a matter of taking the steps along the way, and um, you know, yeah, I think it's just kind of that vision of a brighter future for the family, and time, location, freedom, all of that.
I was talking with my dad the other day, and he was talking about how this pandemic and how important the pandemic has actually been to his business, because the pandemic came at a time when he was getting ready to maybe make some business moves and basically forced his hand on all of them. And so now, fast forward a year, and his business is making a whole lot more money. And he's like, man, if I hadn't done all these things, like where would I be? This
And move
and
to
what
the
we talked
shade.
about was desperation being perspiration. And for folks that maybe aren't, I don't want to say desperate enough, but aren't struggling enough, that it will be hard for them to actually get the motivation to go and do those things.
Sorry, I'm just moving to the shade. The sun is right in my face.
Yeah, it was lighting you up really well, actually. You could see your face so well.
Sorry. It's
No, it's
also
right.
probably giving me a sunburn.
That's right. Oh, yeah,
Right.
no. Well, basically what I was going on was just to basically say that folks who really struggle with motivation, a lot of times I think the problem is that they don't honestly want it bad enough. And they might think that they do, but if they want it just enough to go sit and watch The Bachelor instead of going to the computer to do some work, then it makes me wonder, like, how badly do you really want it?
Yeah.
And I could
Yep.
tell that you want it badly.
I do. And it took me a long time to get here. It's not something that's like a default mode for me. Just to be completely honest, like I've always been kind of a slacker. Took me a while. It took me some losses and some struggles and some realities that you know
I feel like
I
you're
think
still in the
one
sun.
of the I mean this is huh?
I said, I think you're still in the
Can you hear
sun.
me?
I can hear you fine. I just am laughing because you're still squinting in the sun. You went to move to get better sun.
Oh yeah. Well, it's less sunny, I guess. There's a cat. I don't know. This is maybe an ADD. Do you see the cat?
Yeah, I do. Where in the island are you right now?
Squirrel.
Because squirrel. Yeah, I have that all the time. Where
I'm
on
on
the
the
island
west
right
side in a place called Kapolei.
now?
It's kind of they call it the new city. It's where a lot of the government buildings and stuff are. The FBI is here.
Keeping an eye on you. They got their
City,
binoculars
state
out right
government.
now, like making sure you're not out there to cause trouble.
Yeah, probably being watched by somebody.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, because we were headed towards the top of the hour, I just wanted to give the shout out to folks in the chat who have been here with us this whole time. One, thank you for being here. But if you have any additional questions for Beau about what he's doing and all the rest, I would also point you to the interview that we did a couple weeks ago. And also, he's been on Doug's channel and has discussed a lot about his business there. But this is the call. If you have questions or comments for Beau, definitely throw those in the chat. So looking ahead next year, if we were to have this conversation again in 12 months, where would you like to be?
Sorry, you're really kind of breaking up on me. I think I went to the wrong place. Let me go back to where I was because the connection was really good.
Well, while you're walking, why don't you show us what we're looking at? Because right now I can kind of see over your shoulder and I see the sky. Because the video is good.
Sorry. Okay. So,
yeah. So what street are we looking at here? I see palm trees and I see the sky. Where's the beach? Is it that way? This way?
The beach is everywhere, but you go anywhere, but it's basically that way to the beach, to the closest one. Yeah.
And the temperature is probably what, like 80 degrees already right now? 80 Fahrenheit?
It's high 70s, about as pleasant as you can imagine.
Yes, I can imagine. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, this is better. I don't know, this is just a better spot for whatever reason.
Well, the question I had posed then to try and wrap us up and sort of get us set is, if we were to come back in 12 months and have this conversation again, where would you like to be? Like, what would you say is your goal for the next year, and what would you like to be telling us that you had accomplished?
Sure. Well, definitely the million words, for sure, is getting that million words out. I would like to be not working a job anymore.
Don't say it too loud.
Yeah, I don't want to say that too loud because I'm here at my job. But there's that, and then financially, I want to get to at least 10,000 a month. I feel like with the word count and the article count that I'm going to have in a year, should be somewhere between 10 and 20,000 is kind of what my goal is in terms of the residual income. But yeah, and then just be able to kind of be anywhere, be free from a day job, and yeah. Also be able to have my wife quit her job too. So because we have plans just to travel and take our boys all over Vietnam and
come
Europe.
to Oregon.
In Oregon, yeah.
Yeah, come to
sure.
Oregon.
Yeah.
Rick says that he would like Beau to post videos more often. He watches them all.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, I try. It's a big time. It's a big time thing. It's one of those things. I don't feel like I edit it that much, but even the little bit of editing that I do, it's a lot of time.
I don't think people on the outside looking in at folks who are on YouTube and realize how much actually goes into doing this.
Yeah, and I'm trying to create some kind of synergy too. Just going back to the accountability thing, where the YouTube videos that I want to make or create somehow hold myself and others accountable, just kind of like what you're doing. So I still have to kind of strategize that and figure out what my game plan is with the YouTube videos, because I can't just do income reports.
Well, you can. You can.
Yeah.
People watch.
Like, oh, yeah, great. Beau posted another income report.
People watch them. They do. People love income reports. They love them.
Yeah.
Jesse says that until he started the channel, he didn't respect the amount of time that goes into even a short video. And I say, welcome, friend, to the other side, where you can spend 8 hours editing a video and have it get 25 thumbs down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paul dropped in to check in, and Paul is going to watch this on the replay. And we already shouted you out like 4 or 5 times today, Paul. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, good job, Paul.
Pete says we need your exact GPS coordinates. Amelia's
my
living
exact GPS.
But people are making jokes about where you are, because I was like, "Where are you? And what are you looking at?"
You can Google Map. Just Google Map Kapolei. It's Kapoliei, and then you can type like Kapolei City Hall, and that's if you want my exact location. Don't order a drone strike or something.
No, never, never, ever.
Oh, this is a funny story. So I got a drone for my wife for Christmas, and I want to do some like drone footage in my YouTube channel. But I was flying because there's all these government buildings around here, like we were talking about. And I'm like, I don't know, is the FBI gonna come and? Yeah, I gotta find somewhere a little less suspicious to fly the drone around here.
Yeah, no kidding. Awesome. Well, Beau, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. Even though I know you have work and all of that stuff to go to, it has been just enjoyable chatting with you live and maybe participating in your accountability process.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
It's been really enjoyable.
Yeah, and thanks everyone for watching, and aloha.
Yes. All right, and I'm going to click in. Hey, folks. I'll see you next week. I'll be back. Who are we back with next week? I think it's Jesse. Jesse's coming on next week. So Niche Informer, we're celebrating Jesse quitting his job. Jesse officially quit.
Ooh, good job, Jesse. Living the dream, man.
All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.